So far, I've tested the OnePlus 5's photo quality in day and in night, and it does a fairly decent job, but it isn't perfect. If you haven't seen these comparisons, feel free to take a look. I'll put links in the description and I'll throw cards up. But today I'd like to focus on video, more precisely video stabilization. One of the biggest caveats with the OnePlus 5 is that it lacks OIS, which stands for Optical Image Stabilization. OnePlus has focused on keeping video stabilized using EIS, Electronic Image Stabilization, just like the Google Pixel. A big issue, however, is that even though the OnePlus 5 has been out for a few weeks now, EIS is still missing when recording 4K video. On a Reddit AMA, it was asked, will the OnePlus 5 be getting EIS for 4K video recording via a future update? And OnePlus addressed this by stating, it's within our plans, but we didn't implement it on time. Instead, we focused on stabilization for 1080p video. Well, let's take a look at how well the OnePlus 5 stabilizes video in 1080p, and then let me show you how much a lack of any stabilization suffers when recording in 4K. When we get to that part, you might want to take some Dramamine. You're in for a bumpy ride. Let's start with the OnePlus 5 and the LG G6. As I walk through the park, you can see the EIS go to work on the OnePlus 5, and I will say it looks pretty good, better than the G6 in terms of video stabilization. The OnePlus 5 has a bit of that robotic movement like the Google Pixel because of its EIS, but it's nowhere as pronounced. I'll get to that later. But not only is the G6 not stabilizing as well as the OnePlus 5, but its video quality is way too over-sharpened. The OnePlus 5 gets my vote here. Now, when I pit the OnePlus 5 with the HTC U11, we get a much cleaner result. The U11 is the brighter video, just take a look and compare the sidewalks here. And again, in terms of video stabilization, I'm really enjoying how smooth the OnePlus 5 captures motion. While both do a really great job stabilizing video, I prefer the more natural looking video output on the OnePlus 5. When the OnePlus 5 is up against its predecessor, the OnePlus 3T, it's apparent both use EIS. And while both offer pretty good stability, the OnePlus 3T will occasionally produce a bit of stutter or judder in this video. This is something that I've come across in my earlier testing as well. Again, I'll throw a card up. The OnePlus 5 gets my vote again here. Moving on to the Google Pixel, which has been given some good marks for its video stabilization. And while it's indeed better than what the Nexus 6P ever offered, I always thought that my Galaxy S7, S8, iPhone 6s, iPhone 7 did a better job here, mainly because the stabilization looked a lot more natural than what EIS produces. Again, that robotic effect. But look at the OnePlus 5 here. Even though both use the same stabilization software, the OnePlus 5 looks a lot more natural than the Pixel. The movement isn't as staggered, it's not as jumpy, whatever you want to call it. And because of that, that's another check here for the OnePlus 5. Moving on to the iPhone 7, video stabilization here for both phones is eerily similar. I'll tell you right now, I didn't expect the OnePlus 5 to have such a stabilized video when compared to the iPhone 7. As I go down this alley, you can really see the OnePlus 5 doing a great job. And while both do a really good job at keeping things smooth, I'm really digging what the OnePlus 5 is giving me. And finally, the Galaxy S8. I spent a little more time with this one because I really haven't had a chance to test its video since I've gotten it. One of the first things I noticed right off the bat was the S8's video looked washed out next to the OnePlus 5. By itself, it's not something you really notice at all, but when pitted up against another phone, it's pretty obvious. But as far as video stabilization goes, both do a really good job. As I walk down the stairs of my building to the back alley, or walking down a sidewalk or an empty baseball field, both do really well. The OnePlus 5 again handles its own, this time against the S8, and it is the phone I prefer when comparing the two. That is the OnePlus 5. They might be very close in terms of stabilization, but I do prefer the OnePlus 5's video output overall. Maybe the video quality and its stabilization is different at night or in low light conditions, but that'll require further testing. If you're going to be recording in 1080p during the day and in need of a camera phone that will require a bit of movement and motion on your behalf, I can easily recommend using the OnePlus 5. But let's move on to 4K. Remember, like I said earlier in the video, the OnePlus 5 has yet to receive an update for EIS, aka Video Stabilization. When compared to the G6, LG does a better job stabilizing video, but not by much when compared to some other phones. I'll get to those in a bit. The OnePlus 5 is really just not the phone to use in this case. Really, neither is the G6. If you find yourself having to record video with either the OnePlus 5 or the LG G6 in 4K, I'd highly recommend you take it slow, pan slow, walk slow, slow.
Drive slow, homie.
Moving on, the HTC U11 also does a better job stabilizing video than the OnePlus 5, but it still has a lot of movement when in motion. Regardless, as of right now, I'd pick the U11 over the 5 if I had to record 4K video on the go. When we compare the OnePlus 5 to the Galaxy S8, the S8 handles stabilization much better, but I've noticed the S8 suffers from a jello effect here. There's just this wobbly movement as I walk around, but I'd still pick the S8. When against the OnePlus 5's predecessor, the OnePlus 3T, the 3T does a much better job handling video stabilization when in motion. There's no question that I'd be picking the 3T here. Now, when we compare the 5 to the Pixel's electronic image stabilization is apparent here, stabilizing video a whole hell of a lot better, which is clearly evident in this video. No question, the Pixel gets my vote. Finally, the iPhone 7 manages to also do a great job stabilizing video compared to the OnePlus 5. If you've noticed, I've kind of rushed through the 4K examples because it's just too unstable and pretty much unwatchable on the OnePlus 5. Long story short, stick with 1080p with the OnePlus 5. That is, until they release an update for EIS in 4K. If recording video in motion is one of your top priorities, put the OnePlus 5 on your shortlist. But remember, this is only for 1080p, as today. If you can hold off until an update arrives for 4K, stick around until I can get a proper video out to test against the competition.
Holy Gani.